Hello students, welcome back to your science class. So students, in the previous class, in this chapter, we were talking about that of the pollution. We had discussed that what are the different resources which is provided by the nature. You know that the natural resources are the resources which is basically provided by the nature to us, which will include water, which will include soil, as well as it will also include the air. And because of human activities, the because of human activities, these natural resources is getting disturbed, and its quality is degraded now, which we called as a pollution. And there are a lot of different substances which is responsible for causing the pollution, and the substances which basically responsible for causing the pollution, they are known as a pollutant. So we have seen that what are the different pollutants which are responsible, which degrade the quality of the natural resources, as well as we have seen that how we are able to minimize the impact of these pollutant in the natural resources, okay, in the air, water, or that of the soil. So we have seen that how we can prevent the soil pollution, water pollution, or that of the air pollution. Now, today we will going to understand that of the biogeochemical cycle, student. Try to understand this concept of the biogeochemical. What is the meaning of a bio here? Basically, bio, we called it as a life. Here, life means what? We are including the living organisms here. Okay, they are known as the bio. You have heard about the term biology. So basically, in term of bio, we discuss about the biotic thing. We discuss about the living organism. Then the next term that came here is geo. When we talk about the geo, it is related to what? That is earth. And then finally comes the chemical, which is related to the chemical only. Means the chemical which is basically involves that of the. So this is what this basically involves. This biogeochemical cycle basically involves the interaction between that of the biotic component to that of the abiotic. Okay, so basically biogeochemical cycle, as you can see here, it is written also that a constant interaction between the biotic and abiotic component of the biosphere make it is a dynamic but a stable system. Okay, so biogeochemical cycle basically involves that it is what? It is a dynamic, it's a stable system which basically involves the interaction between that of the biotic and abiotic component in the biosphere. That is called as a biogeochemical cycle. Okay, now what happened here, especially in this transfer, in this interaction, it will include the transfer of the matter as well as that of the energy. So here the things and the energy, it is transferred from the different component, in that of the biosphere. It means from the biotic to abiotic, or from the biotic to biotic. So the different components which is involved in this biogeochemical cycle, basically there is a transfer of the matter, there is a transfer of the energy between them, and this constant interaction between these two system, that is biotic and abiotic system, will forms the biogeochemical cycle. Now let us see that what are the different processes are involved in this above balance. Okay, now you see here the first cycle is what? That is water cycle. So if we look at the first one, student, the first one is what? The water cycle. Let us try to understand about the water cycle. This is also a kind of a biogeochemical cycle which is very common to us. So in that of the water cycle, the first thing you will find here that the water, first of all, it will evaporate, and then it will condense, and finally it will come back to the earth surface, or to the ocean, or to the water bodies again. Okay, and this whole process in which the water evaporate and then again it will fall on the land as a rain, that is known as the water cycle. Now see here, it is also written that is the whole process in which water evaporate and fall on the land as rain and later flow back into sea via river is known as water cycle. This cycle is not as straightforward and simple as this statement seems to be implied. All of the water that fall on the land does not immediately flow back into the sea. Actually, here some of it seeps into the soil and become the part of the underground reservoir of the fresh water. Now, what does that mean here? Actually, here it is explaining that what happened in a simple way if we try to understand about the water cycle. So basically the water, first of all, it will evaporate from the water bodies in the form of a water vapor when sunlight falls on it. Okay, so after absorption of that of a heat, sufficient amount of a heat from that of sunlight, it will evaporate and becomes the water vapor. In the form of a water vapor, it will evaporate. And then it will again come back to the earth surface on the land from that of the, in the form of a rain. After condensation, it will include the process that we called as a precipitation, where it will come back to the earth surface in the form of a rain. Then here it is that the cycle is not very straightforward. It doesn't seem that the all the water in the form of a water vapor which evaporate again come back to the sea, but there are some water which does not immediately flow back into the sea, but here it will seep into the soil. Okay, and it will also becomes the part of the underground water. Okay. So here some of the water it will seeps. That's why it is written here. Some of it seep into the soil and become part of the underground reserve of the fresh water. So basically some of the water it will enter into the underground reservoir and it will part of that of the underground water which we consider as a fresh water. Now, some of the underground water, it will find its ways to the surface through that of the spring, and again through that of the spring, it will come back to the sea. So, this is how we can say that the water not directly but indirectly again come back to the seas and ocean, and this will help in completing that of the water cycle. Okay, so this is the water cycle. You know the importance of the water. We have already discussed that how water is really important for all the terrestrial organism, for the plants, for involving that of the various life processes, right? And we have also seen that what is the importance of the water and how we can prevent that any kind of a problem or pollution that occur to the water here. Now let us see here the water cycle. Okay, so this is the water cycle which occur in that of the nature student, and try to understand this water cycle. By this you have understood a lot of a thing regarding water cycle. First of all, you can see here there is a surface water. Is this surface water, it can be any water body. That will include seas, that will include ocean, that will include any of the water bodies, right? When this water bodies will going to so at first the water get evaporated from that of the water bodies. After receiving the sufficient amount of a sunlight, the process of the evaporation, so when the evaporation process occur, water in the form of a water vapor, it will rises upward. Now what happen afterward? These water vapor again, now water in the form of a water vapor, when it reaches upward, it will again combine with each other to form the cloud. So this is how the formation of a cloud occur after the process of the evaporation. Now what happened when these clouds which consisting of the water vapor, when they combine, means when they reaches to the upward, there the temperature is lower as compared to the temperature which was earlier. So obviously these water vapor again get converted into the water droplets. Now when we talk about the water drop and droplets are of very small size. Now these droplets will start floating in the atmosphere, in the sky itself, and there it will again start combining with the other water droplets, and these water droplets, when they combine together with the other water droplets, then there is a formation of a water drops. Okay, and then the cloud, it will become heavier. Now this process in which the water vapor again get converted into that of the water droplet, that is called as a condensation. So the first process which is involved here, as you can see here in this cycle itself, it was evaporation, where the water get converted into water vapor. Now this water vapor, through the process of the condensation, it will get converted into the water droplets. Now the water droplets combining with the water drop becomes heavier, and through the process of the precipitation, this will come back into the land in the form of a rainfall. Now what does this process is called as? Actually this process is called as a precipitation. Okay, so this is the one in which the water will get converted into the water droplet in the form of a rainfall, come back to the sea, ocean, or the land itself. Now sometime what happened, when the temperature is really very low, at that time when this water droplets coming to the earth's surface, it will become converted into that of the snow, and that we called as a snowfall instead of calling it as a rainfall. Here, as you can see here, that this water surface, in this one, when you look at here, it is written as a transpiration. Here it is written as a respiration. Okay, so transpiration and respiration, what happened here basically? So when the sunlight, as you can see here, the sunlight falls here. So when the sunlight falls to that of the tree, this what happened, the process of a transpiration will increases, right? It means the process in which the water loses the excess amount of water through the pores which is present on the surface of the leaf, called stomata, and this process is called as a transpiration. So evaporation is one of the factor by which the process of the formation of a water vapor occur. But the other method by which the vapor is reaches to that of the atmosphere is what? It is transpiration. The second process is called as the respiration. In this one, in the process of a respiration, here the human beings or that of the animals, there will be the oxidation of that of the glucose occur, and due to which again the water vapor is also released along with it. So the things which is responsible for the formation of the clouds, or which also contribute in that of the water cycle, along with the water bodies, process of transpiration, process of respiration also involves in it. Okay, in both of the cases the water vapor is formed. Now this whole water vapor, they will help in the formation of the cloud, so transpiration, evaporation and respiration all help in the formation of a cloud. When this cloud formation occur, then this cloud will again, when it will get condensed and heavier, then there is a rainfall, snowfall occur. Okay, now when this water reaches to that of the earth's surface, most of the water again goes back to that of the water bodies which is present, or which we called as a surface water here. Okay, it will again reaches to that of the surface water, but there are some of the water which seeps to that of the underground, and such kind of a water we called as a groundwater here. Okay, so underground water is formed as the water seepage basically occur, due to which the water get collected under that of the ground, and then there is a formation of the underground water. Okay, so as you can see here, when we have started with that of the water cycle, there we have seen that the water, it will get seeps into the, so we have seen here that the water, it will in the formation in the underground, there is a formation of the underground water, and this underground water will again used as a fresh water. Okay, this is how the whole water cycle process basically occurs. Okay, so this is all about that of the water cycle. Okay, this process, it is really important. You know that the groundwater, it will help in maintaining that of the percentage of the fresh water in our environment. Okay, river used to carry many nutrient from that of the land to sea, and obviously this will help in the survival of that of the marine organism, or in the survival of all the other aquatic organism. Now let us see then another kind of a cycle here, and this cycle is called as a nitrogen cycle. Okay, when we talk about the nitrogen cycle, let us try to understand that of the importance of the nitrogen here. So nitrogen gas, basically it makes up 78% of our atmosphere, and this nitrogen is also a part of a many molecule which is essential to life, like that of a protein. Now you can see here it is written that as nitrogen is what, it is the highest composition of the gas which is present in our atmosphere. The percentage is 78% in our atmosphere. And why it is important to the living organism? It is important as it is essential to the life, like protein, nucleic acid, which will involve DNA, RNA, involves vitamins. Okay, it is also very important compound, as it will help in the formation of alkaloid. It will help in the formation of the urea. When you look at the formula of the urea, you will find that the nitrogen is there. In case of alkaloid, nucleic acid, you know that DNA and RNA is what? Is a nucleic acid only, which is made up of a protein. Basically, the full form of the DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. RNA is ribonucleic acid. So, these consisting of the nitrogen itself. So, by all these things, we have understood here one thing, that nitrogen is what? It is really essential nutrient for all the different life forms, and it is important for the survival of the living organism. Now, what is the problem here? Why, even though this is present in a sufficient amount, but there is a need of a nitrogen cycle. Basically, we cannot take the nitrogen directly. Okay, in the atmosphere, although the percentage is highest, but we cannot take this nitrogen directly. Okay, but there are some of the bacteria are there which basically help in converting that of the nitrogen molecule into nitrate and that of the nitrite. Okay, so we can say here that we cannot take this nitrogen molecule, but we can take it in the form of a nitrate and nitrite. Okay, and these bacteria which basically help in converting the nitrogen molecule into nitrate and nitrite, they are called as a nitrogen. These are basically called as a nitrogen fixing bacteria. You see here, these are the nitrogen fixing bacteria. Now these nitrogen fixing bacteria, it may be present as a free living, and sometime it may be present in an association, basically in that of the dicot plant. Okay, so nitrogen fixing bacteria. So basically this nitrogen is this nitrogen fixing bacteria. There are of a different type, but a very commonly nitrogen fixing bacteria which basically we found it in the root of the legumes. Okay, so generally these are present in the plant, which basically present in that of the pulses especially. So these nitrogen fixing bacteria, they are generally present in the leguminous plant. What do we understand by the legumes or that of the leguminous plant? Basically, it is what? It is the pulses. Okay, leguminous plant are the plant which gives us pulses. They are called as a leguminous. So these nitrogen fixing bacteria are present in the legumes in the leguminous plant. And in the legumes where they are basically present, so there is a very special structure which we call as a root nodule, where this nitrogen fixing bacteria are associated or are present. Other than these bacteria, the nitrogen molecule, it can be converted to nitrate and nitrite by that of the physical process. During lightning, the high temperature and pressure created in the air convert nitrogen into oxide of nitrogen. So one of the other method is also there by which the nitrogen fixation can occur, but that is a natural process basically, which is what like lightning. So during that of the high temperature and pressure which is created in air, it will help in converting the nitrogen into oxide of the nitrogen. Now these oxides dissolve in water to give nitric acid or that of the nitrous acid, and it will fall along with the rain. Okay, so this is how the nitrogen is also in the form of a nitric acid or a nitrous acid, or in the form of a nitrate or nitrite, it will reaches to that of the earth's surface. Now what happened here, now we are saying that we cannot take the nitrogen, means any of the living organism which can be a plant or even which can be an animal are not able to take the nitrogen directly, but now the nitrogen get converted into nitrate. Okay, now the plants are able to take up this nitrate or nitrite, and it will help in converting this nitrate or nitrite into amino acid. Okay, so you can see here it is written that plant generally take up nitrate and nitrite and convert them into amino acid, which are used to make protein. Amino acid basically combine with each other to form that of the protein itself. There are other method also by which the formation of this complex nitrogen containing compound can be formed, which will basically help in the formation of the protein or that of the other complex compound. Okay, but you see that the protein which is formed here, the complex nitrogen compound which is formed here, afterward, means after the formation of the amino acid to that of the protein, this will be again consumed by that of the. So basically the plants generally used up this nitrate and nitrite and converted into amino acid. Now this amino acid, they are combined with each other to form that of the protein. Now the protein will be consumed by that of the animals, and you know that the protein, it will, once it will be consumed by that of the plants and the animals, it will form the complex compound. It will also help in the formation of the DNA or that of the RNA. Now once the animal or the plant they dies, what happen, and even the bacteria also, other bacteria which is present in that of the soil. Now there are some of the bacteria which is also present in the soil that will help in converting the compound of a nitrogen back into the nitrate and nitrite again. And finally this, if we talk about the different type of a bacteria which help in converting the protein to the nitrate, they are called as a denitrifying bacteria, and the same denitrifying bacteria help in converting the nitrate and nitrite into the elemental nitrogen. So there was a bacteria which help in converting the nitrogen into nitrate and nitrite, and there are different types of a bacteria which help in converting the nitrate and nitrite into the nitrogen. Okay, and this we called as a nitrogen cycle nature, in which the nitrogen passes from its elemental form in the atmosphere into the simple molecule in the soil and water, which again get converted into the more complex in a living being and back again to the simple nitrogen molecule in the atmosphere. Now see here, basically what happened, the nitrogen, it is water, it will be, first of all, this nitrogen will passes from the atmosphere, and with the help of bacteria get converted into nitrate and nitrite again, and from that of the help of the bacteria again, from that the nitrite to nitrate, it will again converted into the elemental nitrogen. So this is how the process of the nitrogen cycle occur, in which the atmospheric nitrogen converted to nitrate and nitrite, and again it will come converted into that of the nitrogen. Okay, so this is how the whole cycle process basically occur, whole the complex molecule to the simple and again the complex one. Okay, so this is called as a nitrogen cycle, in which the nitrifying bacteria and denitrifying bacteria basically plays a very important role because we are the all the living organisms are not able to take the nitrogen directly. Okay, so this is how the nitrogen cycle help nitrogen cycle process occur, and this is how we can say that nitrogen is really important for the living, for all the living organism. Okay,